Heading into this past weekend, we got two pretty fun fight announcements that were booked by the UFC. One is the co-main event for UFC Paris at the Accor Arena on September 6th, and the other is the main event for UFC Perth in Australia in the light heavyweight division, and I'm going to talk about both of those right here, right now. First up is that UFC Paris co-main event, as we will see the number 13 ranked God of War, Benoit Saint Denis, returning to take on the fighting nerd himself, Mauricio Ruffy. The 29-year-old Saint Denis bounced back from his 0-2 stretch in 2024 with a win in May against Kyle Prepolek, where he would submit his short-notice opponent at UFC 315 in the second round with an arm triangle. We of course know that 2024 did not treat Benoit well, as he would start the year with a fight against Dustin Poirier in the biggest opportunity of his career, where at that point I believe he was ranked number 12, Dustin was like 3 or 4, and with a win Benoit would have catapulted himself directly into lightweight title contention and held on to his perfect record at the time. And after dominating round 1 against the former multi-time title challenger Poirier, he would be knocked out in the second round in pretty brutal fashion, and Poirier would go on to challenge Islam Makhachev for the title later that summer. And then when Benoit would try to bounce back in France, his home country, he would be stopped again, this time against Renato Moicano at the end of the second round due to a doctor stoppage in a fight where he would absolutely be beaten and battered and brutalized by the money man. Now we know that since then, Renato Moicano has gone 0-2, that short notice title fight that he had against Islam Makhachev in January, and losing a decision win recently to Beneil Dariush. But nevertheless, Benoit Saint Denis did bounce back. He is in the win column as he heads into this co-main event in his home country of France once again, and he is still just 29 years old. And we also have to consider that he has a 100% finish rate to keep intact as he takes on the surging Ruffy as well, because all 14 of his wins have been by stoppage, 10 submissions, and 4 knockouts. As for Ruffy, well, this is the potential for the fighting nerds to take over Paris, France, because in the main event, we see Nassourdine Imavov taking on training partner of Ruffy and leader of the fighting nerds, Caio Baralho. And while we did see Carlos Prades lose his first UFC fight, Ruffy, Baralho, and Jean Silva are still all 3 undefeated in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And these two competing on the same night, both against French fighters, that is storylines galore. Ruffy got a third-round knockout on the 2023 season of the Dana White Contender Series, started his UFC tenure in 2024 with 2 back-to-back wins, a first-round knockout over Jamie Mullarkey, a decision win over James Lawlentop, and then started 2025 in March with a victory over Bobby King Green, and may still be the knockout of the year so far. That spinning wheel kick was something to behold in the opening round of their fight. The 29-year-old fighting nerd is 12-1 overall, having finished 11 of his 12 wins by way of knockout, having only ever gone to the scorecards once, much like his counterpart and number 13 ranked Benoit Saint Denis, and overall has not lost a fight since November of 2019, meaning that he is riding a 7-fight win streak heading into this one against BSD. In this one, Benoit has a chance to extend his win streak to 2 and hold his spot in the top 15, and for Ruffy, he has the opportunity to break into the top 15 of the lightweight division for the first time and continue to increase his superstardom in a big-time co-main event slot. And the second fight announcement is in the light heavyweight division, and it is the main event of UFC Perth going down in Australia on September 27th, as the Black Jag Carlos Ulberg will be taking on the former title challenger Dominick Reyes. Carlos Ulberg picked up a first-round knockout in his Dana White Contender Series performance in November of 2020, would lose his debut to Kennedy Nzechukwu via second-round knockout in March of 2021, and since then has not looked back and has not tasted defeat. He will enter his first UFC main event riding an 8-fight win streak, with 5 of those 8 coming by way of stoppage, 4 of the 5 by knockout, and 1 submission. And the last 3 on the win streak were all against ranked opponents at their specific time of the fight happening. Alonzo Minifield, a first-round knockout in 12 seconds, then a decision win over Volkan Oezdemir, a former title challenger, in November of 2024, and his lone fight in 2025 so far was against former champion Jan Blachowicz in London, where he would pick up a decision win there. Ulberg fights out in New Zealand, so he represents that area and region of the world, trains out of the City Kickboxing Gym with Israel Adesanya, Dan Hooker, and the rest of the gang, and at 34 years old, he is looking to capitalize, extend his win streak to 9, and make himself undeniable for that Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev Part 2 rematch that's going down the week after this one on October 4th in the main event of UFC 320. Honestly, the winner of this fight will be the next title challenger, because the opponent of Ulberg is the former title challenger, Dominick Reyes. Dominick Reyes would earn that first crack at UFC Gold in February of 2020 because he started his tenure in the promotion 6-0. And we all know what would happen in 2020. He would take on Jon Jones, and many people, including myself and former co-host Noah, felt that he should have been crowned the new light heavyweight champion on that night. But instead, Jon Jones would be awarded the decision, and that would be the first of 4 consecutive losses for Dominick Reyes. The following 3 were all by way of devastating knockout to Jan Blachowicz, Jiri Prochazka, and Ryan Spann. But after a 1.5 year long hiatus between November of 2022 and June of 2024, Dominick Reyes has absolutely resurged and catapulted himself right back into the discussions of who the best light heavyweights in the world are, because he will enter this main event on a 3-fight win streak, all 3 of them by knockout. The comeback started with Dustin Jacoby finishing him in 2 minutes flat last June. Then he would finish Anthony Smith in round number 2 at UFC 310. And so far in 2025, he took on Nikita Krylov and knocked him out in 2 minutes and 24 seconds. The former collegiate football tight end Dominick Reyes, at 35 years old, is 1 more win away from challenging for gold for a second time in his career, but it will not be easy. It is an absolute uphill battle to face and defeat someone as dangerous and as technical on the feet as Ulberg, but if anybody can do it, it is the dominator and devastator, Dominick Reyes. So give me your thoughts and your early predictions for both of these fights down in the comments below. Would you have done anything different with Benoit Saint Denis and Mauricio Ruffy, or with Ulberg versus Reyes? And if you enjoyed this video on these brief fight announcements, let me know down in the comments below as well, and drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because alongside my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements such as these, I break down and preview every big card and fight heading into each weekend, and I recap the most meaningful results in the aftermath. You can also join the discussion on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as like the Facebook page Verbal Sparring MMA. And if you enjoy audio episodes, you can follow along on Spotify and Apple, where podcasts release every Monday and Friday there. Have a great week, and I will see you all in the next video.